All right, so recently I'd been kind of searching for a lot of reviews on the best and softest MMA gloves for sparring so that you can spar a little harder and not really hurt your sparring partners. So I kept on searching and like really there's no side by side matchup. There's no people who've put them side by side so I can see how the sizes compare because all the pictures online look the same. So I ended up with somehow the three most recommended ones, which are the Fairtex, the Combat Sports Max Strike MMA, and then the Ring to Cage ones. Since this is more of my science-based channel and I have absolutely nowhere else on my channels to put this video, I'm just going to throw a little science in here and explain acceleration and how that compares to the gloves. The reason you want a softer glove that's not too soft is because the acceleration of your hand hitting something, however fast it stops, that's going to be the more force that gets put on your hand. So it's kind of the difference between a car hitting a wall, which probably going to be no survivors, versus a car hitting those barrels that you see on the highway that are full of water. Those are actually to slow you down a little quicker, or a little slower, I mean. So with acceleration, even the tiniest, like we're talking milliseconds amount of slowing down, if you can add a little bit of that, it's going to cut down the force just a huge amount. So basically, that's how we're going to approach these. So if you have something that's way too soft and airy, it's kind of like putting a pillow in front of a car that hits a wall. It's really not going to change the amount of damage that's going to strike that. So that brings me to the ring to cage gloves. All right. So these are soft, like they're pretty thick, but the problem is the padding is way too soft. Like you see, I'm pushing down on it, and with just two fingers, I can compress it the whole way down. What that means is it slows down not much. Like this is like the car hitting a pillow on the wall. You just tap it and that's it. You're now on a really firm glove, basically just smacking someone with it. And let me tell you, from testing these are not really fun to get hit with. The reason I have these and these other two is because I'm actually returning these. So they do have other good products, but these just I don't ever want to get hit with these again. Basically, next there's the Fairtex that I got because I heard some great reviews. These are like getting hit with pillows, people said. And even though the padding is actually a little bit thinner and smaller than to ring to cage, so you can see them side by side, it's actually really springy. So you look, I'm like pushing down on it and it's just pushing back the whole time, just pushing back, just increasing the rate that your hand is going to slow down the whole way down. The entire amount of that padding is slowing your hand down. There's no just giant amount of waste of fluff up here at the front. So these are actually not bad to get hit with. Like it's basically like little pillows, and I think after they break in, they're going to be good. And that brings me to the Combat Sports Max Strike MMA gloves, which have the longest freaking name that you can put on a glove. I actually picked these up after the other ones because they were $30, which was just dirt cheap, and I figure a lot of my sparring partners don't have gloves. So I was going to bring these because I didn't want them bringing some MMA gloves or just having to pull their punches. These surprise the heck out of me. I mean, they are really springy. You look at the amount of padding they have, it's freaking enormous. And this padding is really cushy, but still springy. So if you look, it's just pushing back on your hand all the time. But if you compare it to the Fairtex padding, I mean, it's thicker. It's got a lot more going on there. Um, so I was actually just really surprised on these. They also have a much thicker surface area if you look at them. So this whole thing is going to be hitting you. The impact is going to be spread out on that entire zone versus the Fairtex, which is kind of a smaller impact. These are actually, even though they're curled, I'll show you in a minute, they're still good for open hand stuff like Wing Chun or grappling, ground and pound, things like that. The only difference with these is if you're getting out of a tight submission, since these have a bit more bulk to them, it's going to be tough to pull out of an armbar, kind of something along those lines. Versus these, you can kind of squeak out. I've had better luck with these. So as far as how they look when you're wearing them, honestly, I'm not even gonna put on the ring to cage because I'm not a big fan of those. So with the Fairtex, you have this little elastic strap on the bottom, and the whole flap just kind of comes around, loops it on. It's good. It's not bad. I'm a fan. But the Combat Sports, they actually have this really cool strap enclosure, and it tightens up this whole block just right around your wrist. It's comfy. So I mean, you put it on, and you can see this glove, the bottom is not spinning versus that one. You got some more play there. And The Fairtex for open hand is great. Like you can straighten out your hand. There's no glove in the way. Pretty good for ground and pound. I thought these were going to be the opposite since it's curled, but you straighten out your hand and it just flattens out right across the back. So these actually work great for open hand and ground and pound, and they're really not bad. I mean, honestly, these surprised the heck out of me. They got a better strap than the other two, more padding, even cushier. Like these, it feels like getting hit with a really, really nice pillow. So as far as the which ones I'd recommend, I would go with the combat sports first. Like if I had a choice, I wouldn't have bought the Fairtex over these. But the difference with the Fairtex is the seam here really going to stop them from falling apart quicker. This one is just a open threading here, so I expect that these would last quite a bit longer than these other ones. But really, I mean, it's up to you. The only ones that I wouldn't recommend is the ring to cage. I'm not a big fan. I would pay to never get hit with these again. So yeah, I mean, I hope this helped out. Like honestly, I was really surprised by the combat sports because they get a bad rap online because their old gloves were hard as awful. But these, really, just I would go for these. If you can find them for 30 bucks, like a cheap price, they're awesome. Honestly, I'll probably be using the Fairtex because they cost me like 45 bucks, and I'm going to convince myself that they're better because they're leather, and I'm going to use the crap out of them. But if I could go back, combat sports all the way. So yeah, I hope this helps.